What do you think is the one thing that can bring a massive, multi-million-dollar production line to a grinding halt? It's probably not what you think. It's usually not some huge explosion or a big power outage. Nope. It's often something much smaller, much quieter, a single missing part. So let's dive into this absolute business nightmare and see how a simple digital promise in SAP can turn that chaos into perfect, predictable order. Okay, picture this. That constant, powerful hum of machinery, it's gone. And in its place is just this awful silence. The entire production line is stopped, completely dead in the water. And why? Because one little component isn't where it's supposed to be. This is that moment where profits just start evaporating. And believe me, it happens way more often than you'd think. So what's really going on here? This isn't just a case of bad luck. It's a total systems failure. It's what happens when people rely on informal verbal requests for parts, when there's no real visibility into what's actually in the warehouse. You get teams just scrambling, totally guessing. And the symptoms are always the same. Missing stuff, machines sitting idle, and a frantic search that is just burning through time and money. But what if there was a better way? Imagine a different world for a second. What if, instead of just hoping that a part is there, you could absolutely guarantee it? What if you could reserve that one critical component with the same certainty you have when you book a specific seat on a train for a specific trip? Well, that's exactly what a material reservation does inside SAP. This isn't some casual, hey, can you send this over kind of thing? No, it's a formal digital request. It says, I need this material in this quantity, ready for me on this specific date. You can think of it as a digital handshake, a promise from the warehouse directly to the production line. The analogy is actually perfect. When you book a train ticket, you're guaranteeing your seat, right? It prevents anyone else from taking it. An SAP reservation does the exact same thing for your materials. It guarantees they are set aside just for you, which prevents those awful stockouts. And just like a ticket, it creates a formal record, a digital proof of need that brings real accountability to the whole process. So, how does this digital promise actually play out in the real world? Let's walk through the digital workflow and see how a simple request turns into a physical reality right there on the factory floor. The whole process is just beautifully logical. First up, the production team uses a specific command in SAP, a T-code, to create a reservation document. That tells the system exactly what they need. Instantly, the system finds that stock and digitally fences it off. Now, this is key. It's still physically in the warehouse, but nobody else can touch it. It's now marked as reserved. Then, the warehouse team uses another command to formally issue those goods, which updates the inventory in real time. And finally, the actual physical material gets moved and arrives at the production line at the exact moment it was scheduled. No guesswork. And the most important part of all this, that reservation document. It becomes the single source of truth for everyone. It's the formal proof of need. It gets rid of all the shouted requests, the scribbled notes, and replaces them with a trackable, auditable record in the system. Now everyone is working from the same playbook. Okay, but how does the system know what kind of movement is happening with the material? Well, that's where a simple but really powerful 3-digit code comes into play. This little code gives us total visibility and control over every single piece of inventory. Let's take movement type 201. This is the code for when the production floor officially uses up the material. Now, SAP uses this term cost center, but don't let that throw you off. It's basically just a label for a specific department. So when you see code 201, it's a clear signal. These materials have left the warehouse and are now officially being used by the production team. Next, we've got movement type 311. Think of this as internal housekeeping. This code is for moving stuff between two different spots inside the same building. Like moving boxes from the bulk storage racks over to the picking area in the same warehouse. It's not leaving the site, but the system knows its exact location has changed, and it's all tracked perfectly. And what if you need to go bigger, like move materials between two totally different company sites, maybe from a central warehouse in one state to a manufacturing plant in another? Well, that's where movement type 301 comes in. Every code tells a very specific story about where the material is going and why. And here, this is where you see the system just work its magic. Before the transfer happens, the system shows two important numbers. You've got unrestricted stock, which is all the inventory that's free for anyone to use. And then you have reserved stock. That's what's been promised to production. Now look, after the warehouse team does the transfer, the reserved stock goes to 0, and the total unrestricted stock drops by exactly 100. It's just perfect real-time visibility. So when you put all of these pieces together, the transformation is pretty incredible. What started out as this chaotic, reactive mess of searching and scrambling, it becomes this smooth, predictable, and super efficient operation. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the advantage is crystal clear. You get complete visibility of what's needed and when it's needed. Your inventory counts become dead-on accurate. Those production stoppages because of missing parts, they pretty much vanish. And because you've got a digital paper trail for every single movement, you have total accountability. What you're left with is a smooth, planned, and efficient flow of materials.
In the end, it all comes down to this one simple but incredibly powerful promise: getting the right material to the right place at the right time. That is the difference between chaos and order, and it's all powered by the logic and control of SAP Materials Management.